I found this really nice miniature played between Alireza Firouzja with white and Andrew Tang with black. So this was played on chess.com in 2021. I'm not sure if it was a bullet or a blitz game, but either way it's just an awesome game, features a really nasty tactic. It was over in 21 moves, so let's see what happened here. Alireza kicked off with d4, d5 from Tang, the knight came to d2, a really funky looking move, but this is of course short play chess, you can really mix it up with the openings. And after pawn e6, now Alireza goes e4, he strikes at the centre, and after captures here, the knight recaptures. Suddenly that knight manoeuvre wasn't so stupid, and now Tang wants to go knight to f6, but he first prepares it with knight to d7. Alireza now goes g3, preparing to fianchetto the bishop. The knight came to f6 here, and now Alireza simply takes on f6, the knight recaptures, and now when his bishop hits g2, it's had its eyes opened, it's already pressuring on this b7 pawn. So already white's a bit better with the space in the centre, the pressure on the queen side, and you could try and deal with that with pawn c6, maybe you go bishop e7, but Andrew loves to play actively, look for tricks, so he goes pawn e5 immediately, opening this bishop like this, and he sets a trap here, so if white captures that one, simple tactic, takes on d1, king recaptures, and knight g4. So you hit f2, you'd have to defend that one, say with king e2, then you win back the pawn, black's got a better game here. So that's why we didn't have the captures in the centre when the pawn came to e5. Instead, Alireza went queen to e2 here. He does now give this pawn on d4, but after knight to f3, he hits both of those points, he's winning his pawn back. So the queen came to e4 here, forcing those ones off the board. Alireza captured, the knight took back, and now he takes on e5 here, once again opening his bishop, hits that knight, it hopped back into d6, and now I really like the way Alireza plays this part of the game. So he castles the king, the bishop came to e7, preparing to castle, but this is where Alireza's really precise. Black never quite finds time to castle the king. So Alireza goes rook to e1, and now if you castle, knight c4 is really annoying. I mean, say you take that one, then white takes on e7, you've picked up the bishop pair, and you've got pressure along the 7th. Better game for white. Say you don't take the knight, say you defend the bishop for example, well then we can take here, forces the pawn to recapture so you don't lose your rook, better pawn structure, better game for black. You can't actually say go and develop your bishop here, or there's too much pressure on b7, so it's just uncomfortable, you can't yet castle the king without a bad game. So that's why Tang goes bishop to e6 here, but now another really precise move from Alireza. He doesn't just casually develop his bishop, he goes knight d3. So he drops that one back, but now if black castles the king queen side or king side, you're running into knight c5, and it's just really annoying. You hit this bishop of course twice with knight and rook, and it can't move away, say to f5, or then you're dropping your bishop on e7. And there's problems on the b7 pawn, so it's just no good to actually castle the king here. And that's why Tang now went bishop to f5, so he pressures the knight, pressures this pawn, but now an excellent switching of the play from Alireza. This time he hops to f4, and now this knight is actually looking to come into d5. You can't let it hit that square. Say you take the pawn, now knight d5, you're threatening to win a whole piece here. Say you defend with knight c8, well now this is the other threat, takes on c7, winning the rook in the corner. So there's too many problems, the knight can't hit d5, c6 is forced, that's what Tang played, and now the star of the show, this knight hopping all over the board, it comes into h5 here, and now it's pressuring on the king side. Once again you can't castle, you lose your bishop, so you have to do something about this pawn. If king to f8, well now you can crash through anyway. After the king recaptures, we pick up the bishop, it's still undefended. So that's why Tang actually defended the g-pawn using his rook here. but now it sets up a beautiful tactical combination which Alireza found. If you want to pause and look for it, please do so, and if you're enjoying this video, do hit that like button, let me know, and consider subscribing to the channel to never miss a future video. So the move here is bishop to h6, double exclamation. So you now put two lots of pressure on this g7 pawn. If you try to defend it with the king, well, now we can still crash through on g7. After the rook takes back, we take with the bishop. Once again, you've got this loose bishop on e7 at the end of the line. White's now an exchange up. So trying to defend that pawn with the king is no good. What happens if you push the pawn? Well, now there's knight to f6 check. You're picking up an entire rook here. King has to come to d8, then you take here. So you can't do either of those things. Tang played the only sensible move here, which is takes on h6, but now here's the follow-up, knight to f6 check, using the pin of that bishop, and the king can't even come to d7, the knight covers the square. That's the big problem here. So you had to go king to f8 to cover that rook. Now Alireza captures in the corner, and if the king takes back, we chop here, we're an exchange ahead, Alireza's completely winning. So we didn't have takes on g8, instead Tang tried this bishop to g5 move. It holds the h6 pawn, tries to trap in the knight, and now there's different winning moves, but this is a nice one. Pawn to h4 from Alireza, he kicks that bishop, as soon as it moves, he'll escape the knight. So that's why the bishop took on h4 here, and now you can recapture that one. Alireza instead decided to capture on h6, multiple winning moves, and here it actually forced resignation from Tang. He's just an exchange down, he threw in the towel. So a beautiful crush from Alireza, a nasty tactic there. If you want to see his immortal bullet game against Daniel Naroditsky, click here. Thanks for watching, see you soon.